Good morning, everybody. We are back in the shop. On the last video, I put this Langmuir Systems Crossfire CNC plasma table together, and today we're going to put it to work making a torque converter cover for my mini bike. Like 2 episodes ago, we got the mini bike back together. We put new tires on it. I haven't cleaned it since I rode it, so it's still got some mud on it. So we did the new tires, we did the new exhaust, and then this thing used to have one of those plastic covers that come with the torque converters, and that thing's long since been destroyed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build one out of sheet metal. So at this point, what I got to do is I just got to take a bunch of measurements of the torque converter mounting points. So it's got these little bolt holes here, here, and then 2 underneath. But one thing I wanted to mention is with these things, they run hot, and heat is the enemy of these things. So what I've done in the past with those plastic ones is I've drilled a bunch of holes from about here down, and then actually once this last one that I had, I thought I was drilling the bottom side, but I was drilling top side, so it had holes all the way around it. But what I want to do is I want to keep the top solid. I only want to bring it around to this bottom bolt hole right about here, and then kind of have it angle up to cover this. I don't know, I'm going to design something, but it has to let a lot of air through, because when you seal these things up with those stock factory covers, they heat up really bad and they burn up belts. So I'm going to try and avoid that. But this belt actually I think is in pretty crappy shape. I think I need to get a new one. Yeah, I think so. But anyway, this belt has already seen over 100 miles at this point. So I do need to order another one of these. I noticed when I was riding it last, it wasn't really grabbing that well, and it feels a little worn out. So we'll take care of that. But like I was saying, we're just going to take some measurements, and I'm going to go design something up in Fusion 360, and we'll start building this thing. We designed our part. I don't know if you guys can really see this through the camera, but the part is on here. And this is the first time I'm going to be using this machine to actually make something besides for those 2 little brackets. So it took me a while to design this and the other one, which I'll show you once we get this one cut out, if it works. I think I got all the machine settings where I want them. We're using 18 gauge because that's what we got, and the cover that was on there was plastic to start with, so let's just you know, we just need something, and we don't want it to be super heavy either, so you know, 18 gauge I think is going to be fine. So I got the machine set. I got a different tip in there than we had before. I got a 0.9 tip, and before we had a 1.1. That's what came with the machine. So we have our 0.9 tip in there. We have, I've done a dry run. I've got this clamp over here to help straighten out the metal, because it's a piece of thin sheet metal and it's kind of warped in a couple spots. So it's not 100% ideal because there's a little warp in it, and we don't want the torch to come so close that it actually touches the metal. So I've got it spaced a little bit further away than what is ideal, but that's what we're working with. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the plasma cutter back on. I'm gonna set you guys over here, and we're gonna watch this thing hopefully work. Now let's do it. Alright, so I don't know what happened there. It didn't fire the torch to cut this first hole, and it fired the torch halfway through cutting one of these holes. The cuts look okay. They're a little bit, well, they're not great. Some of them are a little bit wonky. I don't know if that's programming or torch settings. It definitely managed to cut through everything. Not 100% sure what to do about that. But so I'm going to run the program again, and I'm gonna cut it. I'm going to turn the program off after it cuts these first two holes. Hopefully it cuts them. Otherwise, we're starting over. Yeah, that did it. I think I need to lower the height of the water just a little bit in the water table. Now here's what we got. We got a couple of, so like this is a really good line here. It's got some weird, I'm thinking we're moving too fast here possibly. I don't really know because I don't have a lot of experience with this yet, why we're getting this little jaggedy line. Same here. These right here are, I think it's moving too fast. So, but I can clean this up, make this work. I don't want to waste this piece of metal. I'm going to slow the thing down a little bit, and we're going to cut the next piece, and hopefully that works a little bit better. So I gotta go and I gotta think about what's happening here. The torch didn't fire and didn't finish cutting. We have some definite problems here. Some of them turned out really good. I just don't, I don't understand this yet. I gotta check and make sure that everything is tight on the machine, because when the machine moves, and that's another thing I want to slow down. I want to slow down when the machine moves without cutting. It moves so fast that it like shakes the table, and it might be something is loose and causing problems, because when it moves really fast and it stops and it goes in the other direction, it could move things. So I need to make sure everything's tight. I don't know, honestly don't know why it would do this. Like, it did really good on most of these. I guess it didn't do good on this one. Maybe I need to do some like overlap or something. But these ones totally screwed up altogether. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Unfortunately, that's all I got time for this morning, because my little one is sick and his mom's got to go to work. So that's where I am. I was hoping that this would work out and then I could come out tomorrow and weld this thing up. But unfortunately, this is how it goes. Alright, so we're back at it this morning. I went and I made some changes in the programming. I had lead outs. So you have these all these different things that you can select when you're doing the CAD CAM stuff, and you're turning it into an actual file for this thing to cut. I had lead ins is where it starts cutting and leads in. I had lead outs selected, and I think that might have been messing things up. And then I slowed the machine down and just made a few changes, and I'm thinking it should work. So let's hope, let's cross our fingers. Since you guys saw the cutting of that one yesterday, I'm just gonna show you guys the program actually running. So let's give this thing a shot and see what happens. Alright, I think there's something going on with the machine. Whoa! So there's something going on with the machine being triggered or something, because yeah, it's not firing when it's supposed to fire. A few things happened, and it's hard to explain exactly what was happening, but so I swapped out those consumables, and I was thinking like that was maybe the problem for why it wasn't cutting. And then when I did that, I actually forgot a small piece of the torch in there. So then the machine stopped firing altogether. So and then I'm thinking, well, did my CNC port, where my soldering job come loose and now it's not working, or many different things. So I went through all that. I actually called the tech support for the Prime Weld Cut 60, and that guy there, he sent me a picture. He sent me a text message with a picture of a torch deconstructed, and I was able to see when I took my torch apart, I'm like, oh, I'm actually missing a piece. And I went to the consumables I took off, and it was still on that. So I put that in there, fired this thing up, by hand, because it wasn't even firing by hand. I would come over here, I'd pull the trigger, I'm like, well, it's not even working, so it's not the CNC port. I just did some diagnosis, and then it went through its cycle, and it cut out a pretty good piece. So our problem is solved for now. So we are on our way to building our torque converter cover, finally. All right, let's get this cleaned up. Alright, so let me show you guys. I guess I haven't really explained what my idea is here. So one thing that's going to be evident here is I'm going for very minimalist, because I want this thing to cool off as much as possible. I don't want a bunch of air trapped in here. That's part of the problem with the one that comes with it, is it wraps all the way around and it doesn't have much ventilation. It has like a little bit of vents here, I think, but those things are just way too, they trap all the heat in. So what I'm trying to do is pretty much as much as a minimalist design. Okay, so like this is why these holes are here. These holes are going to wrap under here. This is supposed to wrap around. We're going to see if my holes are in the right place. It already looks like they aren't. Yeah, my holes are already in the wrong spot, so I'm going to have to take notes on what I did wrong there. But we'll just re-drill them. So we're going to start in this corner. We're going to wrap this thing all the way around. It's going to go to... yeah, I did some spacing wrong here, for sure. Anyways, it's going to go... is this right? Is this the same as the one that I got? It's pretty close, but we'll check it as we go. So I found that I have this 30 series plate cover. So if I make any more of these, I'll just... I'm going to make some notes on the hole placement, and we'll try to get that fixed. But anyways... so what I'm going to do, so what this is going to do is basically just come to the back. Let me turn this so you guys can see it better. So it's going to come to about here, just the back of the plate here. And then that's barely going to cover, this driver will be completely covered, except for it's got a whole bunch of ventilation holes right here. But the main bolt on the driver is covered. And then back here you can see it's very minimalist here. So basically it's going to cover up the bolt on this pulley, but the rest of this pulley is going to be exposed. Now, if I were to do this again and, say I wanted a lot more coverage, I could build this bigger, but it would be heavier. I mean, I could make it so that it basically wraps around back here a little bit, but it'd be a much bigger thing. And I'm just going for the minimalist look here. So I need to find some bolts to put in here, in these holes. And then I'm going to start here and start wrapping this around. But my idea was basically, this whole top part you'll be protected from a belt actually shredding apart, which can hurt. It's not going to kill you, but when the belt shreds apart, it can hurt. But also maybe some shrapnel if something were to happen here. But this whole part is solid, and protected, but the front lets a lot of air in, and then the underneath is completely covered up, uncovered. So that lets plenty of air in. That's my whole idea here, is just to make this as much air getting in here as possible, but protect me, but do it as minimally as possible. So I'm a little upset that these holes didn't turn out. I should have seen that was the case. I don't know why this one is pushed so far back here, and you know what, the spacing isn't even right. So I'm not sure how that happened, but we'll see if maybe these first two spacings are good. We're gonna find out as soon as we start bending this, and then we'll mark it, and nah, it's not gonna be. Well, it might be actually. So we'll see. But I gotta find some bolts real quick for this, and we'll come back over and we'll start bending this up. Okay, that came down all the way. All right, so now basically make this bend. Oh man, that actually landed perfectly on that one. So it's just my spacing between these two holes, and I'm not sure how I screwed that up because I did a lot of measuring there. This was the one that I thought was going to be questionable. Oh, but now, that doesn't look good. So I need to try and put a smoother bend into this. Closest thing I got. Okay. So let's see what we got. Okay, so more in the front here. Try this. Go ahead and bolt it back down. Okay. Well, I'm going to go over this. See if it goes. Oh, yeah. We're close. Let's see. My bottom's got to be more right here. So maybe this part will help see that better. Yeah, push up a little bit. Okay. Ooh, that's all there. So, it's very top part. Going into it. That's not good. Okay. We're getting there. Not quite there. Okay, closer. Alright, let's go ahead and put this up here. Make sure everything is going to fit. Oh yeah. Oh, perfect. I mean, we're very minimal clearance on this big pulley here on the driven pulley, but that's perfect. That's what I wanted. I didn't want this to stick out any further than it absolutely had to. So that's with a juggernaut pulley on there. I'm not sure if a standard pulley is less. But this is perfect. So I don't even have to bolt it up. I know just lining the holes up, it looks good. So I actually think I'm going to drill these out maybe like a 64th bigger, so it has a little bit of wiggle room and easier to bolt up. But I mean, it actually probably, it'll bolt up just fine. So let's go ahead and weld this whole thing up. It's pretty warm. I'm gonna let it cool. I almost started welding it without bolting it back on here. Then I'm like, that's a dumb idea because the thing could probably warp all the heck. So I decided to bolt it back down. I'm gonna leave it here for a few minutes, let it cool down. Now the question is, do I run a grinder across it and make it look, you know, smooth, or do I just leave the weld? I'm kind of leaning on the grinder side because my welds are, they're not my best. But you know, I'm not really. I'm out of practice, so it's been a while since I've really worked with the TIG welder, so I'm happy to have the practice, but we might need to just clean it up a little bit just to make it look a little bit better. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and then probably get some paint on this and put it on the bike. Our cover is now dry, and when I revised the programming on this, and I added 3/8 of an inch here to make up for this little bit of extra. I could have cut this off, but I decided to leave it. So next time I'll make this 3/8 of an inch longer. What else did I do? Oh, I added another set of holes right here. I think it could deal for that, and I don't think that that's gonna hinder any problems. I think that'll be better for cooling. But this one's dry and it's ready to go on. Where are those screws? Alright, so there's that. I think it turned out really good. I like it, you know. It covers up this bolt on this pulley back here. It covers the top of the belt and gives you a little protection here. So I'm happy with it. So yeah, just a small project for today's video. Happy to get the table working and actually use it for something. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please smash that like button for me. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell if you want to get notified of future videos coming out from DJ's Hot Run Fab. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.